And now, coming to you live from high atop the throbbing heart of Western civilization. That's right, friends, it's time for another exciting edition of the Bounce X-Files. Hi, hello, and welcome everyone. As always, I am just deliriously excited to have you all here today for this incredible presentation, Humanize Your Website. We're going to talk about how good user experience, good timing combines to give you great wins. I have Ryan Urban, CEO and co-founder of Bounce Exchange, here in our studio today, and coming in live from across the country, we have Brian Lewis, Director of Conversion Optimization at Site Tuners.
All right, Peter, thank you so much for that energizing introduction. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, or maybe even good evening to some folks around the world. As Peter said, my name is Brian Lewis. I'm Director of Optimization at Site Tuners. We're an agency that focuses exclusively on conversion optimization. Now, before we get started, I just want to go ahead and kind of set the stage. You know, when Peter first approached me about this webinar, I was really excited because maximizing conversion really is a combination of doing the right things on your website at the right time from your visitor's perspective. And what I'm talking about here as far as timing is not timing in the sense of seasonal trends so much, which is definitely top of mind for a lot of us marketers right now as we're right in the middle of the holiday season. But what I'm really referring to is timing in terms of having your website communicate to your visitors based on their individual situation or mindset. Now, during the last several years of doing conversion optimization, at Site Tuners we've noticed a fairly consistent pattern of UX mistakes that are being made out there. And when those mistakes are fixed, we've seen conversion rates skyrocket. So today what we're going to be talking about are the most common 6 or 7 UX mistakes that we see out there. You can keep track. Hopefully you're not guilty of more than 1 or 2 of these. And we're going to be showing some examples and also providing suggestions on how to avoid these real conversion-killing mistakes. Now, we're only going to be focusing on desktop here because we could easily spend a whole hour on mobile. There are definitely some differences there.
We always talk about it every webinar. Can we just get some on the docket, just focus on mobile UX and conversion?
Certainly.
Yeah, let's put it on there.
For the future.
For the future.
All right.
Okay.
All right, sounds good. So just before we jump into this, a little bit about our perspective here at Site Tuners. We're a San Diego-based conversion rate optimization agency. We work with clients all over the world. We can help you with your landing page testing, develop a blueprint for a conversion-centric website. We can help you do A/B multivariate test plans. And we can also help improve your company culture and capabilities so that you can be more effective at conversion rate optimization. We work with clients all over the world, and I think you probably would recognize some of these logos that we've worked with, some of these companies we work with. Enough about us. Let's go ahead and get started with UX mistakes. Now, before we actually jump into UX mistakes, I want to make sure that we're on a kind of a level playing field with what UX is. There's a lot of confusion out there what the definition of UX or user experience is. I like this quote I picked up from usability.gov. Let's go through this. UX focuses on having a deep understanding of your visitors. That's a key point right there, a deep understanding of your visitors, what they need, what they value, their abilities, and their limitations. Let's deconstruct this a bit. Obviously, a deep understanding of your visitors based on what we see on websites out there. We're not sure that marketers do have a deep understanding of their visitors. We're going to be talking about why that's important and how to get a deep understanding of your visitors. Understanding what your visitors need. Some visitors are just looking for a solution to a pain point, and they have no idea if the solution even exists. But yet others already know specifically what they need. We need to make sure that we appeal to all those different types of visitors based on their need, what they value. You know it as a marketer. Some of your visitors are going to value quality, the service you provide, the value or trust and credibility. We need to, again, appeal to those. And then, importantly, what are their abilities and their limitations? Because depending on your visitor's level of experience, they may know very little about your products and services and your competitors, or they may know an awful lot. So in order to do a good job of UX, we need to be aware of all of these factors. And some people confuse UX and UI. UI is user interface. That's actually an element of user experience. User experience is more the overall global feeling that that you're providing for a visitor when they're on your site. So let's talk about the actual elements that make up user experience. First one is user interface. That's the stuff that's on your site as far as the navigation, the call to action text on your buttons. Does that provide the right expectations, or are you kind of tricking people into what they think is going to happen? Your aesthetics. That one's pretty easy to understand, right? Professional look and feel. Are you using colors appropriately? High quality images. Does it look like an up-to-date site? It's all about kind of the look and feel of it. Messaging is more about the marketing aspect of, are you articulating what it is you do and your value proposition? Are you making that very clear very quickly? Trust. Are you making the visitor feel comfortable transacting with you, or maybe not even transacting? Are you making them comfortable continuing their visit with you when they land on your site? And then last, but certainly not least, is aligning with visitor intent. And here's where we get to the whole notion of timing, because your visitors are going to, again, have different levels of experience with your products and services. They bring a different context and mindset to the sites. Now, it doesn't matter how well you do those first four. You could have a perfect user interface, the best looking site, marketing messaging can be right on selling benefits and clearly articulating value prop. You could have all sorts of doing things right with trust. If you're not aligned with visitor intent, you're going to fail. And I think this statement right here really summarizes it well. The right thing at the wrong time is the wrong thing. And it's because good UX requires addressing your visitors differently based on their perspective. If we think our visitors are ready to buy when they visit our site, we're putting ourselves on a certain path to what I would call conversion disaster. So what I like to do is think about this. Think about the last time you bought a car, or maybe you went in to buy some expensive clothes, and you were greeted by the salesperson. And what they did right away was they started asking you questions so they could get a better feel for what it is you're looking for. And what you'll realize is that great salespeople have an innate ability to really identify what's important to their prospect. Additionally, their prospect's level of knowledge, any biases that the prospect may bring to the visit to the store, and because of all that, that salesperson can offer them the right solution at the right time. Well, that same path to success for the salesperson can be followed on your site. But as we tend to find out, most digital marketers are really ignoring that at this point. So we're going to give you some very helpful hints on that. In fact, let's start with the first big mistake that we see being done in terms of UX on websites, and that is assuming that everyone is ready to buy. Now, you guys have probably all seen this before, and hopefully nobody out there that's listening is guilty of this. It's you land on a web page, and it's all about buy now, fill out our form. We don't care if you don't know anything about us. We don't care if you trust us. We just want your money right now. We like to call that the greedy marketer's syndrome. And it's trying to push your visitors down through the bottom of the funnel, and it doesn't work. It doesn't matter how big you make that buy now button. If someone's not ready to buy, or what color for that matter you make it, if someone's not ready to buy, if you haven't provided the right user experience for them and met their needs, they're not going to buy. And this really stems from a failure to understand visitor intent. Because as I said before, understanding visitor intent is really the core of conversion optimization. And we can look at our analytics, look at your conversion rates. I mean, what is it, 90 to 98% of the people who visit your site are not transacting with you. And it may not be because you have a terrible site, it's just because they're not ready to, and we need to understand that and address those people's needs. We need to, in other words, get their heads. So let's talk about how we go ahead and do that. Well, there's all sorts of ways you can learn more about your visitors, and there's two main types of information sources that will help you understand visitor intent. The first one is quantitative information, which tells you what is happening, and I'm sure you're all familiar with this, or you should be familiar with this, is your analytics. And we can get a relative sense of what's important to your visitors by analyzing your analytics to get somewhat of a better idea of their mindset and their intent. We want to look at things like, what keywords are they coming in on? That will give us an idea whether if they're general keywords, then perhaps they're more early stage visitors. We also want to look at page popularity. What are the pages where our visitors are more engaged? Where are they spending more time? And clearly, which pages are we losing our visitors? Where are they exiting our site from? We can also get some information from the incoming referral URLs. That will give us a clue as to what are these visitors experiencing just before they're on our site. Okay, if they're coming from search and they're searching on keyword phrase, we can make some conclusions as to what their mindset is. If they're coming maybe from a review site or from some other referral site that we know what that content's all about, again, we can make some determinations as to what they're thinking about, what's important to them. Along with the quantitative tools, there's also qualitative tools, and those are equally as important, because the qualitative tools tells us why visitors are doing the things they're doing. And probably your best source of information is not a tool, it's your own staff. It's the folks who are on the front lines, who are talking day in and day out with your prospects and your customers. The conversations they're having, those people on your staff are gold, and you definitely want to talk with them, find out what are the important things, what are the typical types of conversations, and who are the typical types of people that they're talking with. You might also want to consider implementing incentive-based visitor surveys, and you can put those at key trigger points on your site. So in other words, you may want to ask a certain type of question at a homepage, because someone's going to have a different frame of thinking on a homepage versus on a product detail or a service detail page, or maybe something, a pop-up survey in your cart. And finally, pay close attention to what's being said out there in social media.
Brian, I have a quick comment. So if you're doing visitor surveys, yeah, there's definitely good time to do it and not to do that. What we find, it's once someone completes a task for you and they answer a quick question, say it's a survey you're asking maybe one question, maybe a couple questions, but maybe it's one question. Once they complete the survey, you can then offer them something as a reward. So as a reward for filling out the survey, then, hey, would you like 15% of your next purchase, and would you like to sign up for email list and get 15% of your next purchase? So you can use the momentum from someone kind of filling out a survey to do things. It's great to do it on the confirmation page too, because it's post-sale, and then you want to get someone to make another purchase. But that's a good time. Like use that conversion momentum once they kind of answer that one question, and make them feel like as a reward for doing that thing, now you're entitled to this, and then they're more likely to do it and complete it. So. Just a random comment.
Yeah, absolutely, good point. And definitely leverage that opportunity to get that information from your visitors. And I like the point about on the confirmation screen there's nothing risked, nothing to be lost. They've already completed the transaction. See what you can find out more about them, because you're going to want to take that knowledge and potentially modify your site based on that. And then the last one is social media. You should definitely be paying attention to what people are saying about your products, but also your competitors' products. Again, you get some information, some guidance as to what's important out there in people's minds. Then one last comment before we jump into some examples here. As a good guideline...
We have a quick audience question, Brian, just real quick, off the top of your head from Ray. What software do you recommend for surveys? Do you have any go-tos?
I don't have anyone that I strongly recommend, because there are a handful of 3 or 4 really, really top-notch ones out there. And so I think what I would recommend is that, based on what your needs are, you probably just want to research those 3 or 4 top companies.
Yeah, and like for a really simple one, obviously like SurveyMonkey is pretty good at doing a lot of things. Like Qualaroo for a little thing on your website is really solid, very, very affordable too, and that's like a kind of a quick question that's not really going to have much of a negative impact on conversion. It's a very subtle distraction, so I kind of like that one too.
Yeah, but a little caveat here is implementation of these. Be careful. Definitely do some due diligence in your homework on best practices, because the last thing you want to be doing is chasing people away with really obnoxious surveys that pop up at inappropriate times.
Yeah, and you got to be really careful with working with an enterprise company in the survey space, because they're a survey company and they want to show you a lot of survey results. So I've never seen a survey company run an A/B test and see how their surveys influence visitors negatively on a purchase by by creating that distraction, have something pop up, or just a replaceable value of being able to do something else in that spot. So sometimes survey companies will want to be really aggressive, and so I wouldn't set controls like, hey, as soon as a visitor gets there, or as soon as they become inactive for 15 seconds, do a survey. I wouldn't do that. Be very thoughtful about who you're asking and what you're asking them. That sounds like a very obvious thing, but start off like you don't need that many questions. Just ask yourself, is this question BS? Is this fluff? Am I going to do something actionable from this question? And the answer is no, don't ask it. You can probably cut it down to 1 to 3 questions and really get a lot of information you need to make decisions on what to change in your website.
Yeah, really good point. The last thing you want to do is kill conversion. And, there might be a slight hit to conversion, but the long-term gain you're going to get from that information is going to more than make up for it. I wanted to talk a little bit about this as a good guideline, and we're still talking about identifying visitor intent, and then I promise we're going to be jumping into some examples of websites that do this right and websites that do this horribly wrong. As a good guideline for helping your visitor to identify visitor intent, think of what's important to them as they travel through your funnel in terms of, I'm sure you guys are all marketers, I'm sure you all have heard of the AIDA funnel before, but it's an acronym that identifies the 4 stages in a typical journey towards the purchase of a product. And so when your visitor is in the awareness stage, they don't even know if there's something that's going to solve their problem. They just know they got a problem that needs to be solved. And so here is where these people aren't going to buy. There's nothing you can do to get them to buy today, but you need to address their needs to engage them so that when they are ready to buy, they'll be coming back to you. The next stage, getting closer to ready to transact, is at the interest stage. So at this point, they've done some basic research. They've identified a class of products or a class of services that they're pretty sure is going to solve the problem. But now they're in the mode of what are the important features? What do I really want to know? Right questions to ask. Here they're ready to ask the questions, still not ready to buy though. Further down the funnel, we're into the desire stage. So now they've pretty much identified a product or service they think is right. They got to narrow down their choices. There's lots of vendors out there. What makes you better? Why do I want to go with you? And of course, the action. That's where a lot of us marketers like to focus our energies. There, we want to make sure we're not putting up any roadblocks or speed bumps to the actual transaction itself. Now, as I promised, we're going to show examples. Let's show an example. This is an interesting one because I have 2 home pages from this company, eTrade. I captured over a relatively short period of time. One of them does a good job of understanding and working with visitor intent, and the other one does a horrible job. This page right here, if you look at eTrade opportunities everywhere, and they got this call to action, which is open an account. The problem with this page is that I don't even know what kind of accounts I can open up in eTrade. Unless I'm at the bottom of the funnel, this is going to fail for me. This is not helping me at all because it's not addressing any of the earlier, even mid-stage people. This is all about opening an account. Well, is it going to cost anything? Can I trade frequently? Are there any costs to that? Now, in contrast to that, let's look at another eTrade homepage. This page here has clear entry points for different visitors based on their level of knowledge, sophistication, where they are in that AIDA funnel. Let's look at the far left-hand box. New to investing. Yes, I'm brand new to investing. I don't even know how to do it. I don't even know the right question to ask. The call to action is learn more. That's what I want to do. I'm not ready to open an account. I want to learn more. Now, the next level up is you're an experienced investor. Well, if you're an experienced investor, then it makes sense you want to get started. You probably don't need to learn more. You're ready to open an account. Then the furthest far right column is active trader. So we've gone from the least sophisticated, least knowledgeable person to now the person who really knows what they're doing. And what is it that we want to entice them to do? Upgrade your trading. So compare this to the previous one. You can see how we're providing clear, as I said before, clear entry points for these people, for the various people throughout that engagement continuum. So think about your site in terms of that. Now, another example.
One thing, Brian, go back one slide for a second. So I want to give another kind of actionable tip on personalization, even though we call that the P word here at Bounce Exchange. So you see when you get, as Brian was saying, this is kind of a nice navigation experience, and it fits a lot of people in that AIDA model. And the other page before was really just made for people at the very bottom of the funnel who are ready to open an account. And actually, it's not that good because there's opportunities everywhere instead of like, hey, it's time to open an account. But here, go to the next slide. Now, this would be an example of how you can kind of personalize your site or make an adjustment based on behavior. So say a lot of people who are towards the top or middle of the funnel, they might click on new to investing or experienced investor. They're going to go to that section, and oftentimes they're not going to wind up completing the action opening an account in that session because they're not there yet. But what will happen is a lot of people will come back on their own to the website. They might be retargeted, they might be on your email list, they just might come back on their own because now maybe they're new investing, learn stuff, or they're an experienced investor and they read a little more about E-Trade. When that person goes back to your website, you should keep track that, hey, they've been to the new to investing section before. And then their homepage, instead of having these three things, it's the next step of where they left off. So maybe the next step wouldn't be open an account. Maybe the next step would be getting more information or signing up for the email list. Maybe if they made it deep enough in the conversion funnel, their homepage, that one zone would be open an account. Think about where they left off in the last visit and how the website should change for that person. So there's a lot of personalization vendors and things like that, and I know a lot of people on the line here are product people or in conversion. The homepage is great real estate, especially above the fold stuff, and I rarely see it where it's dynamic. So that's a really good example and an actionable tip because it's not too much to program. You have three major things that your visitors can do, and just based on what they did in that visit or previous visits, then make the homepage more dynamic for them, or make it like what is their next step. So it's not that much to program to do. So that's just a recommendation.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. And personalization is so cool, and there's been so many advances just in the last year with personalization. And I always like to tie it back to the salesman analogy. You know, if you've been to a site and then you go back the next day, we want the interaction to be the same as if I walked into a store and talked to a salesman today, and I walk in tomorrow and I see that salesman, I want him to greet me with the previous knowledge he has of our previous conversations. I don't want to start with just a generic, hey, I'm so-and-so, and I'm going to help you find whatever you're looking for. So that's a great point, Ryan. I'm glad you brought that up. Another example of really missing visitor intent. We're looking at the vitacost.com site. Remember we talked about in the awareness stage of solving a problem. Now, let me give you an example. Let's say I woke up this morning, and actually this is a pretty accurate example. I looked at myself in the mirror and I go, oh my God, I need to start looking for some anti-aging products. Okay, I don't know what is out there, but I got to do something about these wrinkles, and I got to grow some hair back on my head. So I do a search and I land up on this Vitacost site. What do? I'm looking for an anti-aging product. Again, I don't even know what the range of products are, but these guys are basically saying, here's everything, good luck. And again, it's the same thing as walking into a store that's just got all their crap on the wall and saying, there you go, and not having someone come up and say, can I help you? What specifically are you looking for?
But Brian, you can take mushrooms.
Well, I might be open to that. We can talk about that offline. Here's an example, though, of a company that has a slightly different approach. They understand that people might be coming in looking for a problem to solve. So they got that first box in the lower left-hand column that says shop by symptom, and there, lo and behold, is anti-aging. They also have a box that says shop by product. So if I'm an experienced person in herbs and supplements, and I know I like this product called Ethereum Gold, boom, I can go to it right through there. And they have a box at the far right that says not sure where to start if you really don't even have any clue. But you can see the difference between this and the Vitacost. Instead of just throwing up everything at you and saying good luck finding what you want, or hopefully you know what you want, this company here is at least helping us get a start in that direction. And then the last thing I want to talk about in terms of timing is featured products. Crutchfield, great company. I love these guys. I buy all my electronics from them. Probably some of the most knowledgeable people, most friendly people. But I have a problem with their homepage, and here's the reason why. Let's say I'm looking for, I don't know, just an example, a home theater stereo receiver, okay? And I land on this homepage, and what I'm shown is a closeout on Sony Ultra HD TVs. Okay, I get it. They want to get rid of these, or they're being incentivized by Sony to get rid of these. I don't care about HD TVs. You know, and the funny thing is, an HD TV, come on, it's not like, you know, you're going to go down to your local 7-Eleven and pick one up. It's not an impulse purchase. I mean, that's a big ticket. You've either been thinking about one for a long time or you haven't. And I got to believe that the greater percentage of people that land on this homepage haven't been thinking about that because there's so many other electronics products they sell. So if I'm looking for this home theater stereo receiver, I'm on their homepage. Okay, nah, I'd like to have an Ultra HD TV, but I don't have the money for that. I go to the right. They got some marine gear and, I don't know, outdoor speakers, and I go down below that, and they're trying to sell me some car stereo stuff, and I don't need that. And so the problem here is that they're forcing me to either scroll or use their top navigation or use their search. That's not a good user experience. Now, that being said, during this time of year, featured products will work better than during other times of the year, because you may be buying a gift for someone who says, you know what, I love stereo equipment, I love electronics, just, you know, here's a couple websites, just go there and buy me something. So in that sense, it can work during the holiday season. This homepage was not taken during the last month, and you can see this on so many sites, featured products. Most people don't shop for featured products. Most people are shopping for a solution to a problem or looking for a specific product. And there are some other exceptions. You know, if your visitors regularly buy a variety of your products and your products kind of are substitutable and they have a good working knowledge of your products, you know, featured products will work. Apparel sites, they might tend to work, but you know, I'll tell you where featured products are going to work, at the category level. So if I'm looking for that, let's go back to my example, home theater stereo receiver. If I'm on a page, if I navigate down to a page of home theater stereo receivers, and there you're showing me featured home stereo theater receivers, that makes sense. Now I'm interested in seeing those. But right now, I'm not interested in what you're trying to push on me, and you're forcing me to do more work. And what we found out is whenever you force a visitor to do more work, there's a greater chance that they're not going to do that work and they're going to leave instead.
Yeah, back in the day, there used to be the side navigation on the left side. Oh, I like this kind of. This homepage is really good. And B&H is actually around the corner from our office. And back in the day, there used to be a left nav, and the left navs are actually really effective. But then trends moved and everything went to top nav. But on a homepage, you can have it's not a category page, it's not a product page, it's at a different part of the conversion funnel, and you can have, just based on the way that B&H lays out their homepage, you can have that in discovery mode. Another thing that you can do on your homepage, especially if you're like a Crutchfield or you have items that are more expensive or require more than one visit to make a purchase, which is probably most of the people on the phone here, unless you're selling $10 bracelets, the majority of your first-time customers will need more than one visit to make that purchase. Here's something I recommend that we do a lot with our clients, but you can just do on your own too. Look at someone's recently viewed products and then stack them. Just make sure that that's above the folds for people coming back to your website. So, and we like to sort it in order of intent, so which products they look at the most or do things with. But make sure their recently viewed products are really big, and that's how you can, and that's above the fold. So, in this case on B&H, where it says "Welcome to B&H Video and Pro Audio," right below there, I would have someone's recently viewed products in like a carousel and sort it in order of intent, and that's something you can easily build internally. And I think almost everyone's content management system has some form of recently viewed product thing built in. But what we see is that with all our clients, it's like in a kind of tiny zone and by the footer, and sometimes it's only on like category pages. There's a time to surface that to a higher level, and that's when someone's returning to the site, they're coming back to your homepage. Make sure they're big and people can get back to where they left off and get right back in the conversion funnel. And people who are first timers, then you could give them the option discovery like it is here.
I thought carousels were bad.
No, not a rotator. Just something where if they looked at 15 items, you don't have to make the whole page those 15. Maybe you show the 4 items large, and then they can kind of toggle to some of the other ones.
Gotcha.
So yeah, not like the horse carousel thing. Carousels are bad for people who are scared of clowns, I guess. And,
yeah. So yeah, I mean, another good point, right? It's kind of playing on the personalization, kind of playing on the fact that we know you've been here before, so we're going to cater to your needs. So definitely good points. Let's jump to a second huge mistake that we tend to see, and that's terrible navigation design. And this is super important because essentially every visitor needs to interact with your navigation. I mean, they're going to do everything they need on your homepage, which is very unlikely. And I want to show an example of some problems with some navigation. The first example here is a moving company, local moving company here in San Diego called Gorilla Movers. And the first problem with their navigation is I can't even see it. And so it's up there in the top, but there's no contrast. I'll tell you what I did here for all of us for purposes of this presentation is I blew it up and I added a ton of contrast to it so we could actually read it and further be critical of it. But besides not even be able to read it, I want to talk about also another problem that you need to look out for when it comes to navigation is the order. Okay, here is that greedy marketer again saying get quote. Okay, I understand you guys want me to get a quote for moving, but by putting that there first, where traditionally you're going to have a home link, is not going to entice me anymore to get a quote from you. And then let's look at some of these others. Remember, this is a moving company, so I don't know what they were thinking when they have blog as the third entry on their top navigation. I'm looking to move my stuff from one house to another. I don't think I really want to read their blog, but yet they seem to think that's something that's important. And then they have this buy. Well, you talk about being unclear. Buy what? It's a moving company, so I don't know. Buy boxes. Again, I'm not sure. And then the last one, apply with us. Is that get a quote, or are they looking? Is that apply for a job? So these guys fail on a lot of different levels. Actually, one more level they fail on is I think they've got about 9 here. And really, when you go beyond 7, you're really starting to put a cognitive load on your visitors, because anything more than 7, our brains can't really keep that in short-term memory. We got to go back to the beginning and kind of start again. So you really want to keep it less than 7. So these guys are failing on so many levels. As far as the order, as far as the labeling, what they mean. Of course, we couldn't even see it because of the contrast. So think about your navigation in terms of that. Remember that the visitor intent should drive all of your navigation. One other area I want to talk about navigation. Seeing this less and less, but we're still seeing it out there, where you have the horizontal sub-nav. So when you place your mouse is over at home, and let's say you want to go all the way to the right and click on stores, or second to the right. Well, what's the shortest distance between 2 points? It's a straight line, right? So you're going to go from at home to stores, and as you move your mouse in that direction, your mouse is going to go over that explore.
Yeah, it feels like April Fool's. It keeps like contracting. It's the worst experience to have that. And also, it's I think just subnavs in general are a pretty bad idea. Just if someone clicks, don't penalize them for the click. Bring them to a page that has everything else, because when they hover over, they click on that subnav, all the distractions on the page are still here. Amazon just rolled out a test, and it's more of a permanent thing now. Not that I have like friends high up at Amazon, but that's a permanent thing. I assume this won the test. So in that, when someone does click to a subnav, whether it's a list, which you should do, make sure you modal out or put that opacity layer on the rest of the site. So at least like you're not distracted by that scone on the table. People can get there. Yeah, and whatever you do, don't do this horizontal nav. It drives me crazy. It's the worst. And one random thing too, it's some people have navs that just start flying out every time your mouse moves over to at all. Make sure you don't do that. There's JavaScript called hover intent. There's a lot of things you can do. Just make sure that a visitor actually has to have intent on hovering before menus fly out. That's the worst, when things happen when you don't want them to.
Yeah, it's nuts, because you're just passively moving your mouse around, and all sorts of different things are popping up, and your brain's going, what is all this stuff? Want to jump into site search, and we see this as a real problem on a lot of sites, especially e-commerce, but even you service providers out there. Some of you guys are guilty of this, and this is where the real money is, because about 30% of your visitors are going to use site search, and on top of that, the people who use site search are more likely to purchase because they tend to be later stage. We've seen conversion rates as high as 50% higher, and you can confirm this with yourself in your analytics, 50% higher when people are using site search. So at a minimum, review your search reports and do regular audits. And things you want to account for, we're going to show some examples here. definitely account for, one of the things you want to think about is Google. Okay, Google does a hell of a good job at search. Think about the things they do. They account for misspellings by giving you suggestions. They don't necessarily account for having too many search result returns, but you want to think about not dumping people on a page that's got a ton of search result returns, dumping people on a page with 0 returns, form field assist, and let's take a look at a couple of these. Now, I'm an avid long-distance runner, and like most long-distance runners, we get very loyal to the shoe that we like to run in. So I did a search at Roadrunner Sports, and Roadrunner is another super company. I buy all my running shoes from them. They're very knowledgeable, very friendly people, but their search needs help. And this is the page that was shown after I did the search. I did a search on a shoe, a particular shoe called an Asics Gel Intensity, and here's the page I'm on. Now I'm expecting to see my shoe, right? But it looks almost like a home page for Asics. And if you look at the text in the banner, run long, the all-new Asics Gel Nimbus 17. Well, I'm doing a search on a gel intensity, and they're trying to sell me the Gel Nimbus 17. Maybe I might be interested, but I don't know why I would be interested in that. So
this makes, and this is something that someone overrode the algorithm. Instead of getting a search result page, they said like, oh, if gel intensity is here, they're going to drive them to this beautiful page that the designers made, stuff like this. Anyone who's run paid search before knows that you would never drive kind of generic or paid search traffic to a page like this. You'd always drive it to a category page that shows a lot of products above the fold and maybe something you could filter in if you know if it's men's or women's. Yes, show products. We look at conversion rates by page all the time for all of our clients. Make sure people are on a page with a lot of products above the fold, preferably 10 products above the fold. It drives me up the wall. And random tip on search boxes, not a random tip, a very good tip. A tip that has never been given out before ever, maybe, but I'm saying it. So here's Bounce Exchange's problem with search boxes. They're persistent in the nav, and they're the same exact size for every single visitor on every single page on your website, with the exception of maybe the last part of the checkout process. Whether you're on the home page, the category page, a product page, whether you've purchased before or not, whether you have a credit card file or not, whether you're in the cart, the same search box is there and it's the same size. That doesn't make any sense. Your search box for people who have purchased from you before, especially ones that have an account with a credit card on file, those are the people most likely to use search on your website. And for people who are logged in or have made a purchase, that's when you want to make the search box really big for those people. If someone is a top of the funnel prospect landing on, say, a Google PLA, like a product page, or even a category page, that's when you want to make the search box really small. Or not even there at all. So if you see a lot of B2B landing pages that have almost no navigation at all, and all the extraneous navigation you remove improves conversion rate, for e-commerce, they don't do that. You just land people on category and product pages because that's what people do. It doesn't make sense. So like that search box could be a distraction where you can just have the opportunity to get rid of distractions from some people, and for other people, the search box isn't big enough. So in this case, when someone's an avid runner and they buy Asics before and they know that they carry the gel intensity, yeah, you need to make the search box a lot more prominent for people who have purchased before. So that's really simple. You can have a dynamic search box. So that's that tip.
And think again about the salesman analogy. I keep bringing it up, but this is like walking into a store, a running shoe store, and the salesman greets you, and you say to them, yeah, I'm looking for the Asics Gel Intensity, and he looks at you and he says, oh, the Asics Gel Nimbus is over there. And I would imagine, again, maybe Roadrunner was incentivized to try to push the Gel Nimbus, but the problem is that they're going to lose me as a visitor in that sense. Let's take a look at another example, a competitor. This is Sports Authority. I did the exact same search for the exact same shoe, and notice I got back 689 total items. And I was really excited because I thought, man, I'm going to spend the rest of my Saturday just going through these 689 items looking for that one particular shoe. I know there's a men's and there's a women's and there's a couple of different colors, but there aren't 689. And then below that there's some text, and I doubt anybody's going to ever read it, but please, 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 please don't ever talk to your visitors like Sports Authority is doing. Read this text. It says, there were no documents that contained all of the words in your query. These results contain some of the words, and all and some are not bolded. But what the hell does that mean? Here's the thing about this, is I searched on a very specific shoe, and they're showing me socks and a knee brace and telling me that I can go on my own and look through another 686 other items down below. Yeah, I got filtering on the left, but it's goofy. I mean, look under brand, they have Nike, but I'm searching for an ASIC. You're not doing this to your visitors because you will lose your visitors. One last thing on search, and we're going to move on to something else here. I purposely misspelled intensity when I was at Macy's for the same shoe here, and they do sell the shoe. So I typed in ASICS gel intensity, and they came back with 0 results. They didn't say, did you mean this? Or they didn't suggest anything. They just said, sorry, we're out of luck. But they were kind enough to give me these 3 little bullets down below. Let's read that. For better results. Well, I don't care about better results. I want to find the shoe. But anyways, I'll read this. For better results, check for spelling mistakes or typos. Now, so Macy's computers can't do that for me. Search by web ID. I'm not sure I know what a web ID is. I guess maybe that's a product code. But can you help me maybe narrow down what that web ID is? And then the last one's classic. Use generic keywords. I get it. So I should just go back up to the search box and type shoe. The point of all this is, yeah, it's really easy to trash these guys, but do an audit yourself. Make sure you're not treating your visitors like this at all. This is, again, this salesman analogy. I walk in and maybe I mispronounced intensity and said it wrong, and the guy says, no, we don't carry that shoe, and lets me walk out the door. You can't let those things happen. Quickly, let's move on to visual bullying. We're visual creatures. We're good at processing visuals, or actually better at processing visuals than text. And importantly, our visual system is attuned to perceiving change. So our eyes and brains are better suited for noticing differences or movement rather than static. I mean, think about it. When you're in a room and you see something move, right away you look at it, right? We can't help that. It's hardwired. We want to quickly evaluate that movement to determine what we should do as a result of it. Well, it's the same way on a website with any kind of movement you have, whether it's animation, auto-starting videos and audios, rotating sliders, which, by the way, every test we've ever done and every study I've ever read shows that rotating sliders suppress engagement and suppress conversion. And there's a slight exception that we'll talk about real quickly here. The number of visual elements you're putting on a page, the levels of contrast and color, because contrast and bright colors draw our eyes to a page. And also, hopefully you're not using those blatantly stock images that we've been seeing for 10 years that you see on so many people's websites. That does not do anything to build credibility for a site. Let's look at ADT. I did a search on home security systems, and I came to this page, and this is a classic example of visual bullying. So, oh my God, there's so many colors and font treatments and things screaming at me. I don't even know where I should start by looking at this. And look at all these things that are vying for your attention. There's no clear entry point for your eyes. Free installation is like their main offer, but this is going back to the whole timing and intent issue. Free installation of what? I don't even know if you guys provide the service I'm looking for. Hurry, offer ends soon. I don't care if it ends in an hour or next year if it's not the right thing for me. Have questions on the left. This is real funny, just as a side note. The boilerplate text down there, which no one's going to read anyways, and I know that they got a very strong legal department, but what you're signing up for, remember, you just want questions answered about their security system. You're actually signing up to get a phone call spam from them. So God forbid any of the visitors actually read that. I can't imagine anybody checking that box and filling out that form. And this right here is a representation of an eye tracking sample of where our eyes are really drawn to based on colors and contrast. You can see the eyes are all over the place. Now, I did mention that there are maybe some possible exceptions where a rotating slider will work. If you're selling a product that appeals on an emotional level, for instance, Disney World, that may work, or travel. But what Disney doesn't do is they're not showing rotating sliders of their rides. Here's the Matterhorn, and here's Space Mountain, and here's Thunder Mountain. What they're doing is they have, like, I think 3 slides in here, and they're all connecting with you at an emotional level of, wow, this is what I'm really looking for. And the text that they put on the rotating slider doesn't move around. It's always the same font treatment. It's always in the same place. It's a singular call to action. Very, very clean, and that works. Other than that,
what this is doing, like they do ultimately want you to check in, check out. I don't know why you're checking in yet. It's just like the date you want to arrive. That's a little harsh. but they want you to do this search, and having the rotator in will certainly have less people do that search and find prices. So I mean, I'd recommend, and that box may even be persistent up there, but having that transparent, having all these images in the background as a distraction, and also I guess there are these kind of experiential kind of images, but a lot of them, a lot of those things are going to also turn people off. We talk about it all the time. We've probably done more tests involving images and people than, I don't know, we've done a lot of them, and they just lose. It's sad because sometimes it looks cooler, and you're like, in your mind, like, oh yeah, this is like kid-sized packages, big family fun. If you took those people out and you took that image out of the background, you just had like a white background, black text, and maybe made that price your vacation thing much bigger, where I'd make the search box much bigger for that, and cut out that stuff. This page is going to convert a lot better. So having the rotator in, that it does create a distraction. That's going to be less people who are going to do the search on there. It just is.
Yeah, for those of you who have rotating sliders, the very first thing you should set up when we're done with this webinar is a test with a static image. And unless you really blow it with that static banner, the static banner is going to blow away the rotating banner in terms of engagement and conversion. All right, let's move on to another mistake. Being clever and vague instead of being clear. You know, especially on your homepage, not a place for mind-bending, clever, and cute taglines. The homepage should do three things. Very quickly communicate to the visitor that they're in the right place by saying concisely what it is you do in your value prop, ensuring a baseline level of trust so they're comfortable continuing with their visit, and getting that visitor off the homepage. It's like a front door to your site. It's not supposed to be your whole site. This is an interesting example here that I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you this homepage I grabbed about 3 months ago from a company called OpenText. The next slide is their new homepage, which, and maybe they heard my previous presentation, they changed it. You come to this page here, and what is it that these guys do? Simple, secure, smart, sign up. I would have no idea. And then below that they got a sign, you know, built for the cloud, built for business, built for you. No idea. And they got this image in the background which looks like an airport with a bus. I don't know what they were thinking, but I guess maybe it was a branding type initiative. Notice how they've changed their homepage just recently. OpenText Core, business-ready file sharing and collaboration in the cloud. Okay, now I have an idea what that is. So I mean, I know what it is, but at least I know if I'm in the right place or not. And the image supports that. You know, here's all these different devices. They still have the sign-up button, which I think is a little bit of a greedy marketer syndrome. I would think it'd be more about, you know, learn about our services or features. And then it's kind of confusing because they got the get started for free today, which I'm not sure what the difference is between that and sign up. But in any case, a huge improvement over this, which is completely obscure as to what that is. So look at your home pages. Make sure you're not trying to be clever. Make sure you're not trying to be cute. Tell people exactly what it is. People don't have the patience to sit around and try to figure out what it is.
And look, you can oftentimes tell who's a prospect or not, especially if you're paying for people to get to your website. So if someone's a prospect and it's at the top of the funnel, yeah, you shouldn't ask them to sign up. Don't put that there. Go ask them to. You don't have to say learn more either. You could be like, hey, explore our platform, whatever it might be. Like see how easy it is to share files. Like I would have a few different call to actions to get people to actually check out your features, right? And if someone's been there before, if they've shown intent already, then you have sign-up buttons, and it should be a lot bigger. That sign-up button is way too small for someone with intent, and it shouldn't be there for someone without intent yet. So that's a way you can kind of do some automation based on behavior on your website, and it's really, really simple to kind of program some stuff like that.
Okay, we got two more UX mistakes, and then we got a special offer at the end of this that is definitely worthwhile sticking around for. Okay, the next mistake is not establishing trust. Remember what I said, one of the three purposes of your homepage, one of them was to give people at least a baseline level of comfort that they want to continue their visit with you. And there's really 5 different levels of trust that you should be considering for your site. Visual trust is really, it's based on the look and feel of the site, including how quickly the site loads. Make sure that your site is professional looking. The easy solution to that, get a professional designer who understands UX. Industry trust. There you want to convey that you're an active member or leader perhaps in the industry. You can use logos based on affiliations or awards or accomplishments, maybe the brands that you carry. Social trust, hugely important. We all want to get that validation from other people, from our peers, that this is a good product or service. We're talking about reviews and testimonials, or as seen in. Transactional trust, very, very important during the checkout flow or when you're asking people for any kind of information. This is based on the presence of trust symbols and privacy policies and guarantees. And the last one is longevity trust, especially if you've been in business a while. Let people know that, how many tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people have used your products before. A real quick example, we did some work for a promotional pen company that's been in business for 13 years, and we could have said, selling pens since 2002, but we did some math and we figured out that they sold over 52 million pens since they started business. And so that was the statement we put in the trust section, was over 52 million pens sold since 2002. Last section we want to cover here real quickly, because I know we're running out of time, is what we call copywriting vomit. And here's the thing is, we're marketers, right? We love our copy, but unfortunately most of our visitors don't, and especially if the copy is not pertinent to their needs. So this is what copywriting vomit is all about. Too much copy and too much of it in the wrong place, trying to dump all that copy on the homepage when you don't even really know yet what I'm interested in. The wee syndrome, see this all the time. We're the best. We take pride in our customer service. I'm still waiting to run into a company that says we don't take pride in our customer service. So I don't know why companies put that on their homepage. It seems kind of goofy to me. And be careful with industry jargon and acronyms. Again, look at visitor intent. If your visitors know the jargon and acronyms, that's fine. But you may have early stage people who don't understand that. Look at this one last example here. This is, believe it or not, on a homepage of a website swimming pool company. And I can't believe that they expect anybody to read this. I actually did torture myself and read through all this, and I was probably only the second person who read it other than the person who wrote it. But what it really comes down to is these three areas. Why choose them? It's because of their 25 years experience, their award-winning designers, and the world's largest pool builder. So they could have taken all of this, which no one's going to read, and put it, slightly reformatted. And whether this is the right stuff or not, I don't know, because I haven't done the research on their visitors. But here we're just looking at how could they have taken all of that copywriting vomit and just reformatted into a better way of looking at it. So just to wrap up, here are the 7 areas that we've talked about. Biggest one that's failed on most websites that we've seen is that greedy marketer syndrome, assuming everyone's ready to buy, not understanding visitor intent. Make sure your navigation design is driven around what your visitors are expecting to see, and that you're not creating a physical interaction load by making things difficult when they move their mouse around. Lousy site search by giving too many results, too few results, not anticipating when people mistype things. Visual bullying. Be careful of putting too much on your page and too much screaming and your animations, audios, videos, and rotating banners. Being clever and vague instead of being clear. Not the place to be cute and have people have to try to figure out what it is that you do. Make sure that you establish trust, and then don't go nuts with the copywriting. Just real quick before we wrap up here, wanted to mention that if you really want to develop your conversion optimization skills, there's really no better place than this thing, the Conversion Conference. 2 full days of sessions, all focused on strategies for increasing the effectiveness of your digital marketing and improving your conversion rates. We're now in our 7th year. Last year, or actually this year in Vegas, it sold out. The show again is in Vegas next year. And if you want to lock into the early bird pricing, definitely want to go visit that nowconversionconference.com. And then the final slide here is SiteTuners is offering a special promotion here for all of you folks who have listened to me talk. Ryan and I talked for the last hour or so. If you're interested in fixing some of the usability issues on your site, we're giving away a limited number of free conversion review sessions. Now we're going to look at your conversion path, your content, your images, your page flow, and many of the UX mistakes that we've just reviewed in our presentation. We'll record that session for you, send you a copy of the recording so you can share it with your team and start making improvements to your site and show the real value of good website UX. Now here's the thing, we're only doing a handful of these. And you need to be either a U.S. or Canadian business, and you need to be generating at least $2 million annually in online revenues. If you're both of those, go right away to bit.ly/CRO review. Notice the case sensitivity of CRO review. Go ahead and sign up before those few opportunities are taken. And that wraps it up. And Peter and Ryan, do we have time for any questions?
Just a few, just a couple of things before. I'm going to go ahead and grab screen control back from you real fast here, Brian Lewis. Again, thank you so much for that just really awesome way of jumping into the exact specifications on like how to make your website more of a more human place. Thank you so much for taking us through all those UX mistakes that so many other folks.
Yeah, I love and why kind of we invited Brian and we've worked with Tim before. It's showing real examples. I think that's the key. We're not like preaching to people. It's like here's some stuff. Here's the ways that we would change it based on our vast experience. Yeah. So that's why I like that.
All right. So just so y'all know, folks, thank you so much for sticking through after the triumphant finish. Just so you know, folks, next week we're going to be talking all things data. Our next Bounce Exchange webinar is going to be the 2015 Data Year in Review.
Oh, we have some really good stats from Black Friday, Cyber Monday week too. Some interesting stuff.
We're gonna crush it. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, a lot of new trends that are definitely different than other years. So definitely comment for that. Anyone here who wants kind of wants to demo a Bounce Exchange, just go right in on our website, and then that's it.
And
pretty simple.
And if you want to do it via email, you can also email peter@bounceexchange.com, and I'll hook you up with all the links you need. So plenty of routes here, friends.
So that will be all for Bounce Exchange and Site Tuners.